Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to feel overwhelmed when life throws challenges your way? We often find ourselves questioning what we should do next or how to face the obstacles ahead. Make no mistake, the path we choose during these times can shape not only our future, but the very essence of who we are. The truth is, we all have the power to decide how we respond to life's difficulties. And that decision is the key to unlocking your true strength. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. I can still vividly remember a dear friend of mine, Mr. 2. He and his wife, Miss S. 2, had been together for over 40 years, and it was the kind of marriage that everyone admired. It seemed like they had found that elusive kind of love that would last a lifetime. People often remarked that they were the perfect couple, and it was so easy to believe in the story of their love. But as life often does, it had a way of throwing unexpected challenges their way. No one could have predicted that their golden years would not be filled with the peaceful companionship they had envisioned. Miss S, 2, though an incredibly capable and successful woman, had built a life that was financially far more stable than her husband's. And somehow, her success became a burden, not for herself, but for him. She was proud of what she had achieved, but over time, it turned into a way to look down on her husband. He was a good, kind man, hardworking to his core, but in her eyes, he became nothing more than someone who couldn't keep up. The sad irony was that she didn't realize her actions were slowly eating away at his dignity. In the beginning, it was subtle. She would make remarks at home, calling him slow and accusing him of not doing enough, of not earning as much as she did. It hurt him deeply, but he remained silent. He loved her, and he believed that marriage meant enduring hardship together, supporting each other no matter what. But then it became worse. She began talking about him to their neighbors, sharing her frustrations. "I have a husband," she would say, "but it's like I'm doing everything myself. I handle all the money, all the responsibilities. I'm the one keeping everything together." These words, dripping with disdain, spread throughout the neighborhood. Mr. 2's self-esteem began to crumble. He felt invisible, disrespected, not just by his wife, but by everyone who heard those conversations. I could see it in his eyes. A man who had once held his head high, proud of his place in the world, was slowly disappearing. His silence spoke volumes. He never fought back, never raised his voice in anger, but something inside him had broken. As time passed, their once warm dinners together turned into silent meals, 2 people sitting across from each other in a house that once felt like a home. How painful it must have been for him. To live with someone for over 4 decades, to love them with all your heart, and then feel as though you were nothing more than a shadow in their life. Then, one fateful evening, their children came to visit. As they gathered around the dinner table, Miss S. 2 began her usual complaints. She vented about how their children were useless, walking around without helping, piling everything on her shoulders. And then, for the first time in all their years of marriage, Mr. 2 spoke up. His voice was firm, tinged with a quiet desperation. "I can't help her," he said, his words cutting through the silence. "She has never considered me her husband." The room went still. For the first time in his life, he stood up for himself, but it was too late. The damage had been done. That moment, though powerful, was also heartbreaking. After that dinner, he withdrew completely. They continued to live under the same roof, but their lives had separated into 2 distinct worlds. They became strangers to each other, their hearts distant despite being physically close. Miss S. Tu realized too late what she had done. She had torn down the man she once loved, not through a grand betrayal, but through a series of small, unkind words that chipped away at his spirit. And the children, though still living under the same roof, could feel the growing distance between their parents. It was as though the love that once held everything together had faded into a shadow of what it once was. This story is a powerful reminder of how fragile the bonds of respect and love are. A wise woman knows that her role is not just to love her husband, but to honor him. Yes, she may be capable, strong, and independent, but she must never use her strength to diminish the man beside her. As the saying goes, the husband is the pillar and the wife is the roof. The roof must protect the pillar, or the whole house will collapse. A man can bear many burdens in life, but he cannot bear the crushing weight of disrespect from the one person he should trust above all others. Contrast this with another couple I know, Mr. Ho and Miss S. Van, who have been together for over 50 years without ever having a serious argument. Their life wasn't filled with riches, but it was filled with something far more precious, mutual respect. When I once asked Miss S. Van the secret to their enduring happiness, her answer was simple yet profound. She smiled warmly and said, "I don't have any secrets, I just remember what my mother told me. Men need to feel respected, just as women need to feel loved." I was moved by her words, and they've stayed with me ever since. Miss S. Van understood something fundamental about marriage that many of us forget. She never criticized her husband in front of others. Even when they faced struggles, whether financial or personal, she never allowed anyone to speak ill of him. If there's an issue, she explained, "I talk to him privately. When I'm upset, I only show it at home, never in front of others. If anyone disrespects him, it's like they're disrespecting me, too. And that I won't stand for." Over the years, they endured hardships, but they never let them destroy the love and respect between them. This example highlights something incredibly powerful. Words hold immense power. They can either break a person or they can heal them. A careless word, thrown out in anger or frustration, can wound someone deeply and leave scars that never fully heal. But a kind, thoughtful word given at the right time can bring peace and understanding where there was once tension. In marriage, just as in life, it is our words that often define us. If a woman knows how to protect her husband's dignity and speak to him with respect, she will not only build a home filled with love, but she will also earn a love that is deep and unwavering in return. As we grow older, none of us want to feel lonely. None of us wants to live in a house filled with silence, with the person we once loved now a stranger. Life is too short, too precious, to let disrespect fester in a relationship. We must be mindful of how we treat one another, especially those who are closest to us. Because in the end, it's not about how much we have, but how much we cherish the people we love. So let's remember these lessons, not just for ourselves, but for those who come after us. Let's strive to build relationships that are rooted in love, respect, and kindness, relationships that stand the test of time. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment one below to let me know that you are still here with me. One day, Miss S. Hong's world came crashing down when she discovered that the large savings they had painstakingly put aside over the years were gone. The money she had believed was safe in the bank had vanished withdrawn long ago. It felt as if her entire sense of security had been stolen from under her, leaving behind nothing but a hollow, painful emptiness. When she confronted her husband, he merely smiled and dismissed her concern, casually saying, "I'm investing, don't worry, we'll have more money soon." But that smile, once so comforting, felt like a mask to hide something much darker. Miss S. Hong tried to push away the growing unease gnawing at her, but her instincts were beginning to scream in warning. For the first time in years, she found herself noticing small details: his late-night texting, the unfamiliar scent of perfume on his clothes. His business trips had become more frequent, and he seemed more distant with each passing day. Something wasn't right, but she couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. Her heart ached, but she kept it all inside, trying to hold on to the trust that had been the foundation of their marriage. Yet, deep down, she felt a deep unease she could no longer ignore. Her heart shattered when she finally discovered the truth. One day, she followed him, driven by a strange mixture of hope and fear. And there, at a fancy cafe, she saw him with a young woman, well-dressed, laughing, and sitting far too comfortably with him. It felt like a cruel slap to her soul. The world around her blurred in that moment as she realized the man she had loved and trusted was no longer the same. That night, when she asked where he had been, his response was as cold and casual as ever. "I was meeting a client." "Don't worry." But it was too late. In that brief exchange, Miss S. Hong knew her worst fears had been realized. The man she thought she knew had been living a double life, and her trust had been shattered in ways words couldn't describe. The next day, Miss S. Hong did something she should have done long ago. She checked the bank account again. The money they had worked so hard to save had been transferred to another account. Her heart sank. All those years of trusting him, of surrendering her independence to him, had led to nothing but betrayal. The anger, the sadness, the confusion, all collided within her. But she didn't scream. She didn't lash out. She simply gathered her things quietly, leaving behind a letter that would forever change their lives. "I once trusted you completely, but you traded that trust for betrayal. Money can be earned again, but lost trust can never be restored. I'm leaving so you and her can live together comfortably, no longer needing to hide. I'm going back to my hometown to start a new life." Her words, though written calmly, were laced with the raw pain of someone who had been deceived, who had given everything to a relationship only to find herself alone and betrayed. As the days passed, the pain didn't fade. Her husband, realizing he had lost everything, came searching for her. Desperation tainted his voice as he begged her to return, but how could she? How could trust ever be repaired once it was shattered? How could the pieces of her heart be glued back together after they had been broken so cruelly? She had trusted him blindly, completely, and now she was paying the price. No amount of begging or pleading could ever undo what had been done. She had learned the hard way that some wounds are too deep to heal, and once trust is lost, it can never truly be restored. The irony, though, is that the woman who had left him was not even the real reason for the betrayal. It was his greed, his own choices, that had led him to this point. But it took losing everything for him to realize that, and it made Miss S. Hong realize something so much deeper. She had always believed in the sanctity of trust, in the idea that love meant surrendering everything, including control over finances. She had placed her complete faith in him, but in doing so, she had lost herself. She had never questioned it, never imagined that a day would come when she'd have to face the consequences of that blind trust. If she had been wiser, if she had just kept a small safety net for herself, if she had been more self-reliant, perhaps she wouldn't have found herself in this desolate situation. But hindsight, as they say, is always 20/20. The older generation always advised that a woman should keep control over her wealth, for the unexpected can strike at any time. A wise woman never fully surrenders herself, especially not her finances, to anyone, even her husband. It's not about doubting him, it's about safeguarding yourself in a world full of unpredictable twists. Trust your partner, yes, but never to the point of losing yourself. Never to the point where you have nothing left to stand on but empty promises. In retrospect, Miss S. Hong's life could have been different if she had kept a little for herself, if she had been more careful with the decisions she made, even in the name of love. A wise woman knows that while love and trust are essential, they should never come at the cost of her independence. When you give someone else control over your financial security, you're giving them control over your very life. No one should hold all the cards, especially not when those cards represent your future. Through her pain, Miss S. Hong learned that strength isn't just about enduring, it's about maintaining control over what matters most. Money may not buy happiness, but independence does. The ability to stand on your own 2 feet, regardless of what life throws your way, is priceless. And no amount of betrayal, no matter how deep, can ever take away the power of self-sufficiency. A woman who knows how to protect herself, how to safeguard her heart and her wealth, will never truly be defeated. She will rise, as Miss S. Hong did, from the ashes of her heartache, knowing that while she can never undo the past, she can build a better future. And that future, it will be hers to control, not someone else's. That was the moment when the weight of her years of sacrifice came crashing down on Miss S. Hong. She realized with a crushing finality that she had nothing left, not even the basic security she had once taken for granted. After more than 3 decades of marriage, she had never once questioned her husband's control over their finances. She had never even thought to save a little something for herself. Every penny she earned, every amount she had was placed into his hands, trusting that he would manage it wisely. But now, at the age when she should be enjoying the fruits of her labor, she found herself empty-handed, with not a single cent to her name. The truth hit her like a cold, unforgiving wave. She had traded her independence for a false sense of security, only to be left with nothing when she needed it the most. Her life, which had seemed so predictable, so comfortable, now felt like a prison. When she was still working, at least she had the freedom to spend as she pleased, an occasional treat for herself, a little indulgence here and there. But now, after retiring, her every expense had to be approved by him. Her autonomy was stripped away, piece by piece, until she was left with nothing but the silent expectation of dependence. One day, she asked to buy a simple new shirt, but her husband immediately dismissed her request, claiming that her old one was still good enough. The sting of that rejection, so small, yet so significant, was unbearable. She had once been a woman of means, a woman who could buy whatever she desired. But now she was a beggar in her own home. The realization settled in like a heavy stone in her chest. What had happened to the woman she once was? What had happened to the woman who made decisions for herself? It felt so bitter, so profoundly disheartening, that she couldn't help but cry in the privacy of her own heart. The betrayal didn't stop there. When she received a small gift of money from her children, her husband didn't hesitate to take it, saying that he would keep it safe for her. Safe? The words burned in her mind. He didn't even trust her to hold on to her own money. It was like he was treating her as a child, unable to handle her affairs. Her heart screamed in protest, but she remained silent, a prisoner to the very man who had once promised to cherish and protect her. But it wasn't just the money. The most crushing blow came when she discovered, by accident, that her husband had sent a significant sum of money back to his family in the countryside without consulting her, without even asking for her opinion. The money she had thought was still safely in the bank, the money they had both saved for their future, was now gone, sent off to help his family. It was like a betrayal, not only of her trust, but of their entire life together. She was furious, heartbroken beyond measure, and confronted him with all the pain and anger that had built up inside her. But he was unfazed, calm and collected, as he coldly replied, "I'm the head of the family, and I have the right to decide." Those words echoed in her ears, each one a dagger to her soul. At that moment, Miss S. Hong realized just how far she had fallen. She had lost more than just money. She had lost control of her own life, her destiny. From that day forward, Miss S. Hong lived more quietly, retreating into herself, no longer wanting to engage with a husband who had become a stranger. But deep inside, she couldn't escape the suffocating guilt that clung to her. She blamed herself, even though she knew it wasn't entirely her fault. She had never prepared herself for the unthinkable, had never saved for a rainy day, thinking that her husband would always be there to take care of everything. She had relied on his promises, his assurances, and had left herself vulnerable. But it was too late now. The damage had been done, and no amount of regret could undo the past. Ladies, take this as a warning. Marriage should never be about living in complete dependence. Yes, love and trust are the foundation of a strong relationship, but that doesn't mean you should surrender every ounce of control, especially when it comes to your finances. The older generation has always been taught that keeping your own money is a way to preserve your freedom and dignity. Too many women believe that by letting their husbands hold all the money, they are showing trust. But in reality, if a woman has no money of her own, she has no voice. She is left powerless, unable to make decisions or protect herself when life takes a turn for the worse. Can you see this? A wise wife isn't the one who blindly lets her husband control every aspect of their finances. She is the one who keeps a little something aside for herself. She keeps that little safety net, whether big or small, so that she can maintain her independence and never be dependent on anyone else for her well-being. Money might not be everything, but it is what gives us the freedom to stand on our own 2 feet, to make choices without fear. It gives us dignity. Never wait until it's too late, until you're old and vulnerable to realize that you have nothing left. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. As we age, marriage is no longer about the passionate days of youth. It becomes a partnership, one that requires careful consideration, respect, and understanding. There are 3 important things every wife should remember as she grows older. First, never embarrass your husband. No matter how old he is, he still has a sense of pride, and it's vital to protect that pride in front of others. Protecting his dignity is not just about respecting him, but it also helps to maintain harmony in the family. Never criticize or blame him in front of others. Do so with care, with love, in private. A wise wife understands this balance and knows that showing respect earns respect in return. Second, never blindly trust your husband. Trust is the bedrock of any marriage, but it must have boundaries. A woman who trusts too much, who allows herself to be vulnerable in every way, risks losing herself. It's not about being suspicious. It's about being cautious, vigilant, and aware. Never entrust everything to your husband, especially when it comes to finances and relationships outside the marriage. Stay alert, watch, listen, and protect your heart. Marriage is a partnership, yes, but it is also about maintaining your autonomy, your independence, and your dignity. Do not let anyone, no matter how much you love them, take that from you. You are worthy of standing on your own, of being strong and secure in your own right. And in doing so, you will ensure that you never have to experience the heartbreak of losing everything. As we reflect on Miss S. Hong's painful journey and the lessons she learned, we can all take a moment to think about how important it is to maintain our independence, especially in our relationships. The trust and love we share with our partners should never come at the cost of our dignity and security. We have to ensure that we take care of ourselves and remain prepared for the unexpected in life. So, what have you learned from this story? Is there something that resonated with you that you'll bring into your own life? I'd love to hear from you. Please share one thing you've learned and will make a part of your life in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment, like, share, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring and thought-provoking content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.